Hello, magical one. Welcome to this EFT tapping routine, which is for you. If you're writing your book, you are carving out some dedicated times to sit down and write. And at the back of your mind, there is this fear like, when I do this, what if nothing comes? What if I've carved out an hour, half a day, like a whole day, and I come to the page or I come to my laptop, my keyboard, and the words aren't flowing. And it's a really legitimate fear, particularly for kind of magical, spiritual, um, creative beings like you, who, we're very comfortable, we're very used to kind of working in the flow, going with the flow and kind of responding um, when we're feeling that kind of creative buzz. And it can feel like, oh, but, you know, can that happen? Can that really happen if I am scheduling time in my calendar? Um, and planning times to write in advance, it can feel like we are forcing it or manufacturing it. And actually we get to experience both. We get to experience those moments when something drops in and we feel really inspired and it wasn't planned. And we also get to experience that in those planned times as well. We get to bring the magic into those times. So this is a tapping routine to help you with that. So if you haven't tapped before, it's all good. You can just follow me. We're going to tap round and I'm going to ask you to repeat these words after me. And before we start, just take a breath and just check in with how you're feeling about kind of the possibility, the potential of creating, like scheduling some dedicated time for your writing. Maybe you've done it in the past. Maybe it's something you want to start doing in a more consistent way. Maybe that word consistent freaks you out. Just notice what's happening in your body when you think about doing that. Maybe you feel excited. And if that's the case, this tapping is just going to help to connect you with the flow and the excitement even more. Just being in the place of curiosity. And we'll start tapping here on the karate chop point and just repeating these words after me. Even though I have this fear that when I sit down to write, nothing will come, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this worry that when I've scheduled time to write my book, the flow somehow gets cut off. In this moment, I choose to deeply and completely love all parts of me. Even though sometimes my book feels too big, so my mind goes blank and I sit there and stare. I deeply and completely love all parts of me now. Okay, so we're just going to start tapping around the points. So starting here at the beginning of the eyebrow. This fear that when I sit, nothing will come. Side of the eyebrow, side of the eye. When I schedule time for my book, it feels like the flow gets cut off. Under the eye, just feels too big. Just above the lip. So I go blank, just on the chin. I worry I'll just sit there and stare at the blank page. Just on the collarbone. I feel like I'll be blocked when I schedule time for my book. Under the arm, blocked from the channel. Top of the head. Just doesn't feel flowing enough. me tap round again. Like when I schedule time, I cut off the magic. It feels more natural to go with the flow. I feel like I block myself when I put time in my diary for my book. How do I know whether I'll feel creative then? What if I'm not inspired? What if nothing happens? I don't want to force it. When I schedule time, it can feel like a pressure. But maybe I get to create an environment, a way that opens up the flow. What if my book responds to dedicated time? What if my book is waiting for me to do this? I wonder if my book could be delighted when I carve out time and sit in this way. And as my book responds, my creative flow opens. There's always something bubbling, even when it feels like it's not. I get to write my book bit by delicious bit. I know sometimes it will be a little, and that's okay, because sometimes it will be like a lot. Sometimes the words will flow like a river. Sometimes I'll hardly be able to keep up. The more I make time for my book, the more it responds. And my process still gets to ebb and flow. As the transformational author I am, my book is delighted when I show up for it in a dedicated way. My creativity is a practice. The more I do, the more it flows. The more I show up for the author I am, the more creativity I anchor into. I get to experience magic every time I sit down to sit down to write. I trust my process. I trust myself as the author I am. And so it is. Just taking a deep breath again, just noticing how you feel in your body after tapping round. As ever, once you have tapped round, certainly you can use my words as a guide, but you can bring in anything else that's coming up for you, either stuff that you want to release. So we begin with that and then we move into more kind of affirmation statements. So you can do both. It's a really good practice to do when you come to the page or the keyboard, and let me know how you get on.